what is the proper anchoring technique, NLP anchoring technique. And so if you're looking at this video, you probably have been struggling with your anchoring, or you've seen different kinds of explanations, or you attended an NLP training and you're like, I don't know, it doesn't work on me or whatever. And I think the reason why people struggle with anchoring is because indeed they haven't been taught well. And so when people write an NLP training book, or when they start doing their first training, it doesn't mean that they have a lot of experience in NLP anchoring. And that results into them repeating what everybody else is saying, and often incorrectly. So I think where things go really wrong in NLP anchoring is on the assumption that when the emotional state is elicited and the anchor is set, that the moment that you break the state and you fire the anchor again, that it's exactly like the feeling that was there when the state was elicited. And that is, for most people, factually not the case. So it's that assumption is where people start to ask themselves the question, what is the proper way to anchor? Okay? So what for most people is the case in anchoring, experiencing that as a client or as a student of NLP, is it's the spark. So the spark, when you, let's say, you have a matchbook and you strike it, then you see this spark, this combustion, and then there's the fire. And so when you fire the anchor, what a person experiences is not the exact same state, but they experience that spark inside their body somehow. It may or may not come with an image of that time in their life where they felt hugely motivated or whatever, but it is that spark that you work with and reactivate when you fire the anchor. Okay? There are many different anchors. Some of your anchors you have maybe had installed during an emotional time in your life where there was a heightened emotion. And some anchors may be installed for you naturally because over time, here is doing a funky thing. I'm on Bali right now. There's some wind here. About to start the NLP training here. And what happens is that through repetition, the anchor is established, the stimulus response. So for instance, when the school bell rings, you would go to the next room or you would go for recess. So in NLP, what we do is we intentionally set the anchor. So the anchor can be anything. The anchor could be a touch. You could someone on their knee with your hand. The anchor could be a visual, either imagined or you show something someone. Someone can anchor themselves, like a piece of jewelry or a knuckle. You can anchor a sound. You can anchor a logo. A logo is in itself an anchor. Funny story. So McDonald's had Ronald McDonald the clown, right? And the Burger King people were like, well, we need to have a clown too. True story. So they got a clown as well. And when they put it on the TV, guess what everybody thought of? McDonald's. So that's, an anchor can be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, a combination of the two. And so when you anchor, you need to first think how you will anchor your client. And you can either anchor someone without them knowing, and you can anchor someone with them knowing. Okay? So the first thing that you need to do in order to anchor someone, you can anchor through repetition, recurring things that happens a lot. For instance, in my training, anytime I mention science, I use the University of Wisconsin as a joke as to where the science come from. And that means through that repetition, any time someone thinks of Wisconsin, they think of the NLP training. or anytime they think of science where you don't know who the scientist was, you think of the University of Wisconsin. So that's repetition. But to anchor on a heightened emotional state is that you need to make sure that you bring someone to that heightened emotional state. And that's usually more quicker than you think. It can naturally occur when you have people dancing, they have a heightened emotional state. If you crack a joke, they have a heightened emotional state. If you have someone visualize something, you could evoke the state in them. So there's different ways, but you need to get them through your state elicitation. You need to get them to that high emotion. So when do you then anchor? Well, if someone else is anchoring themselves, you can say the moment that you feel this very, very strongly, I want you to anchor yourself. That's a lazy way of anchoring, but still a proper technique. But if you want to anchor yourself, you need to be looking as to what the person in front of you is displaying. Are they in that heightened emotion or not? Okay? You can also adapt what you're doing to create that heightened emotion, that crescendo. The point is that you anchor them at the highest point, not going out of the emotion or too early. So typically, when you start to consider the anchor, is right before someone is at the peak heightened emotional state. Because by the time you're firing the anchor, you're setting the anchor, they're at peak state. They're not out of it already. They're not going out of it already. They're already here. So you need to make sure that the moment that you observe them about to go into the heightened state is that you set the anchor. Okay? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Okay? Then you break the state. You neutralize them. You can ask them to open their eyes. You can talk about something else, sort of kind of not misdirect them, but direct them somewhere else. Okay? What did you have for lunch? What are you going to do after the session, or whatever? Because in order to test the anchor, they cannot still be in that heightened emotional state or have a trace of it. And so what you then do is like, okay, well, let's test this anchor now that we've broken the state. And then you fire the anchor by repeating that anchor that you just placed. And then they should feel that spark that I talked about at the beginning of this video. And that spark can then be turned in to the emotional state, the anchor itself. In next week's video, I will talk about a little bit more in relation to the proper technique of anchoring, and to give you a little bit more nuance in relation to this. I right now need to run out of my Airbnb because the NLP training is about to start here in Bali. See you around.